Imagine spending your entire life shaping your choices just to please others. What if everything you do isn't really for you, but just a way to win the approval of people who don't even care? Do you feel like you have to act a certain way just to avoid criticism? Like you need to hide your true self just to fit in? Here's the hard truth. As long as you live trapped by other people's expectations, you will never be free. So the real question is, how much longer are you going to be a slave to other people's opinions? If you've ever felt like your life belongs more to the judgment of others than to yourself, this video might change everything. Live for yourself, not for others. From the moment we're born, we learn that being accepted by others is essential for survival. Our parents smile when we obey, teachers reward us when we follow the rules, and classmates recognize us when we fit in. These experiences condition us to seek approval. What starts as an adaptation mechanism soon becomes an invisible prison. As adults, we keep chasing acceptance, but now the cost is much higher. We sacrifice our dreams, our identity, and even our happiness just to avoid rejection. Without realizing it, we become prisoners of other people's expectations, slowly losing the ability to live for ourselves. This need for validation is even more destructive in today's world. Social media has turned the pursuit of approval into an addiction. Likes, comments, and followers act as dopamine hits, reinforcing our dependence. The fear of looking inadequate or being judged forces us to shape our lives to please an invisible audience, made up mostly of people we don't even know. But this isn't just a societal issue. It's wired into us. Neuroscientific studies show that rejection activates the same areas of the brain responsible for physical pain. This means that for many people, being ignored or criticized can feel as painful as a real injury. But here's the big question. Does living for other people's approval actually make us happier? The answer is no. The endless chase for validation traps us in a cycle of anxiety and dissatisfaction. As Schopenhauer once said, "What other people think of us is none of our business." And yet for most, that remains their biggest concern in life. Meanwhile, those who achieve true emotional freedom understand that self-respect is far more valuable than any external praise. They realize that real power lies not in pleasing others, but in having the courage to be authentic, regardless of judgment. Social rejection is one of the deepest fears in human nature. Biologically, we are wired to live in groups. In the past, being excluded meant a real threat to survival. This primal instinct still controls many of our decisions, making us avoid conflict, suppress opinions, and shape our behavior just to fit in. But here's the paradox. The more we try to be accepted, the further we stray from our true selves. When we make choices out of fear of disapproval, we become watered-down versions of ourselves, accumulating frustration and insecurity. In the end, seeking acceptance doesn't protect us, it weakens us. Modern society has amplified this fear by creating an environment where everyone's opinion is always visible. The constant exposure on social media intensifies criticism and fuels the illusion that we need universal approval. However, a study published in Psychological Science found that most people overestimate how much others actually care about their actions. Known as the spotlight effect, this phenomenon tricks us into believing that we are constantly being watched and judged, when in reality, most people are far too focused on themselves to notice us. We waste energy trying to dodge judgments that, in truth, almost never happen the way we imagine. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian and philosopher, understood this social dynamic on a profound level. During the rise of Nazism, he refused to conform to collective approval, even knowing it would make him a target. To him, following his conscience mattered more than being accepted by the majority. His example teaches us that true freedom is only achieved when we have the courage to defy public opinion. The fear of rejection is nothing more than an illusion, a product of a system that profits from our insecurity. When we break free from this emotional dependency, we take back control of our lives and become truly independent. True freedom begins when we stop measuring our worth based on other people's opinions. But this doesn't happen overnight. The need for validation is deeply ingrained in us, and breaking this pattern requires conscious effort. The first step is to identify whose opinions actually matter. We waste energy trying to impress people we don't even respect or admire. As Seneca put it, it's insane to seek approval from those you wouldn't even approve of. If the person whose judgment affects you doesn't have a life you'd want for yourself, why should their validation mean anything? Reflecting on this helps us separate the voices that deserve our attention from the noise that only distracts us. Another powerful way to free yourself from external validation is to test your own resistance to people's opinions. The Stoic philosophers had a radical exercise. They would deliberately expose themselves to ridicule to weaken their fear of disapproval. Cato, for instance, would wear outdated clothes and walk barefoot in public, not because he was eccentric, but because he wanted to train himself to ignore people's judgment. The more we expose ourselves to small, uncomfortable situations, the stronger our emotional independence becomes. Modern psychology backs this up. Experiments show that challenging your own social discomfort, whether by wearing something unusual or voicing an unpopular opinion, creates progressive desensitization, making us more confident and less dependent on outside approval. Finally, the third pillar of emotional freedom is building a strong internal identity. Instead of seeking recognition, we should focus on investing in what makes us grow. Bonhoeffer understood this deeply. His strength didn't come from external validation, but from the certainty that he was living according to his principles. To develop this inner fortress, we need to focus on three key elements: self-awareness, competence, and purpose. When we truly know who we are, master our skills, and find a deeper meaning in what we do, other people's opinions become irrelevant. Because in the end, no one can invalidate something that is built on a solid foundation. Freedom isn't just the absence of physical chains, it's also the absence of mental chains. Living for yourself takes courage because it means letting go of the comfort of acceptance and facing the resistance of those who don't understand your choices. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of history's most provocative philosophers, argued that true greatness comes from those who have the strength to become who they truly are. He once said, "Become who you are," a phrase that sounds simple but requires a lifelong battle against external influence. Most people never discover their true identity because they spend their entire lives adapting to expectations they never chose. And when someone dares to be authentic, society's first reaction isn't admiration, it's rejection. After all, a free individual is a threat to those still enslaved by the need for approval. One of the biggest challenges of living for yourself is dealing with the hostility of those who can't stand seeing someone break the mold. Authentic freedom shakes the foundation of those still trapped within the system. Diogenes, the cynic, understood this perfectly and chose to live without caring about anyone's opinion. His independence was so absolute that when asked about the people who mocked him, he replied, "Just as the braying of donkeys doesn't bother me, neither do the laughs of fools." This is the level of indifference we should aim for, a mindset so strong that criticism becomes insignificant. But the truth is, most people who judge us aren't really evaluating our actions. They're projecting their own insecurities and frustrations onto us. Carl Jung said that we often project onto others the things we refuse to accept in ourselves. This means that most of the criticism we receive has more to do with the fears and insecurities of others than with our own mistakes. In his theory of the shadow, Jung explained that we all have inner aspects we repress because we don't see them as acceptable. Instead of confronting these hidden parts of themselves, people tend to see them in others and judge them for it. This is why some people are so aggressively critical of those who choose to live authentically. They're not just attacking you, they're fighting their own unresolved conflicts. Once we understand this, we stop taking rejection personally. Instead of shrinking in the face of judgment, we can use this knowledge as a mental shield, allowing us to move forward, fearless in being exactly who we are. If there's one inescapable truth about life, it's this: no matter what you do, someone will always have something to say about it. And if you spend your life trying to avoid criticism or chasing approval, you're simply trading your freedom for an invisible prison. No great mind, no strong spirit, No person who truly left a mark on history ever wasted their time trying to please everyone. The fear of disapproval paralyzes, while the courage to be authentic liberates. What separates those who truly live from those who merely exist is their ability to withstand disapproval without surrendering to external pressure. Now imagine this. If no one could judge you today, how would you live? What would change in your life if other people's opinions suddenly stopped mattering? This is a question few have the courage to answer honestly. But those who do discover something powerful, the world remains exactly the same, yet the feeling of freedom becomes overwhelming. The only thing truly stopping us from being who we want to be is the fear of judgments that, in most cases, don't even exist. As the National Worry Audit Study revealed, we waste years worrying about what others think, when in reality, most people are so absorbed in their own lives that they barely notice ours. So here's your final challenge. Spend an entire day making decisions without caring about what others think. Test your ability to act for yourself without seeking approval. Pay attention to how you feel at the end of the day. You might be surprised by the sense of lightness and strength that emerges when you finally choose to live for yourself, not for others. If this reflection resonated with you, share in the comments a moment when you faced the fear of disapproval and came out stronger. And remember, the more you strengthen your independence, the less power others have over you. If there's one thing you should take from this video, it's this. No one can give you the freedom you're looking for except you. Other people's opinions will always exist. But so what? Would you rather be admired for following rules you never chose, or be remembered for living with authenticity? Now tell me in the comments, when was the moment in your life when you realized you were living to please others instead of yourself? What did you do to change? Share your experience, who knows? Your story might inspire someone who's still trapped in this cycle, and if this video made you think differently, show it. Leave a like so more people can hear this message. Subscribe to the channel and continue this journey of self-discovery and freedom. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. Because this is just the beginning. The choice is yours. Stay a prisoner to others' approval, or finally start living for yourself.